here we go.
Is there
All right, so we're recording. Okay. So I've opened up a typical Visio session. Okay.
Can you make it bigger screen on your side?
I mean, taller.
What
Is
do you
there a
mean?
way to?
I'm full screen here.
Because for us, it's like only
It's out
3/5 of the screen.
Yeah, it's like long and short.
I mean, it's okay, but I'm just wondering if you have the capability of making it bigger.
Well, I'm on a really wide screen here. Do I need to
Okay.
move to a different monitor?
Can you change the widescreen to regular screen?
It might be fine. It just looks.
Well, for people with a small screen, it could be an issue. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're looking at it on a laptop, it might be. Yeah.
Is it getting stretched on your end or something?
It's not that it's stretched. It's that it's probably not as big as it could be if it was.
I think I know what's going on. Hang on. Let me
Okay.
do this.
I'm going to make notes on that as well. Make
Yeah.
sure screen's not on widescreen.
Or can the pictures be put below? Oh, no.
Hang on just a second. I'm going to reshare on a smaller screen. How's that?
So far, so good, but I don't see it there.
Yeah, that looks a little.
That's bigger.
That's bigger.
That's bigger.
Yeah, that looks nice.
Okay, so the lesson there is my big 28-inch wide screen. Well, I got to use a more, what do you call it? A typical dimensioned screen. Because I use a real long screen for my mapping work. You know, it's easily 28, 26, 28, 30, 32 inches long.
Yeah, okay. Well, this is easier to read. So that's a note.
Okay. That's interesting, Cindy, you say that, because I've always been doing Zoom calls on this big screen.
It hadn't been an issue before.
I wonder if folks have it.
I haven't noticed it being an issue before when I do a Zoom call
I
with you.
guess it's just this thing then, this Visio thing. Okay, so when I share a screen, I lose the chat. I lose the chat feature.
I don't. Well, he can't see what I've got.
Oh.
Even down on the bottom, you can't see it?
Go ahead and chat something. Let's see if I can see it. Oh, here we go. Yeah, okay, so I have to open chat up in another window.
Okay.
See there?
Yep.
Shit. Oh, I can move that chat to a different screen here. Okay.
So you want to do that at the very beginning?
Well, when you open your Visio, you're going to have to to open up another window for chat.
Okay.
All right. I saw that on the where it says the green meeting ID number with the stop share bar.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see if I can share that. Can you see that?
No.
The stop share button?
No.
Okay. Anyway, all that to say that that's what that needs. Okay, so I'm guessing that you'd have to explain, what the symbols are, right?
Yep.
So
Well, we can still start with going through that sheet before we even open it up, and we can send it to them ahead of time, the PDF.
Yeah, I'd say you'd push that out to them and say, here, following that sheet. Just a second here. Let me go find it. All right, facilitators, basic workshop, facilitating. Kit sheets. So you would want to have that, you'd want to have that open so you could drag it over,
Yeah,
right?
yep,
Obviously, that means you got two monitors where one monitor's got your chat. I mean, one monitor that you're sharing has the Visio, right? And your other
Yeah.
monitor's got whatever aids and the chat box and all that stuff in it. Make sense?
yeah.
And then you say, okay, so what's our trigger? Okay. And right. And then say, okay, now what's our final deliverable? You're going to have to probably get big enough for people can read it, right?
Well, you're good so far.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then just start throwing them up based on the chat, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now
And I would probably start with just the way that we did before, you start with those big components.
yeah, just start throwing up the results and then say, okay, let's kind of put these in order now, okay? Now here's where it's going to slow down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Normally when you call them up to what I do is I say, hey guys, everybody come up here and put these things in the right order, right? Just to, kind of rough it in.
Yep.
Okay. And that usually goes, as you know, of course, rather quickly. That won't happen this way. You're going to have to go, okay, let's take that one. All right, let's just take these two. Which one depends on what? See, does that, so that's the first one, right? Is it always, sometimes, or never, right? And as soon as they say, oh, it's always, right?
Yep.
You'd grab your first short case. Okay, now which one do you want to look at?
So how are they going to be able to, they'll have to say what it is. And Mark had the idea that they actually could throw up ideas on the chat line.
Yeah.
The circles.
Yeah, they'd nominate them. In other words,
yeah, so I could type in,
right.
Request logged.
For example.
Yeah, I didn't write.
Okay. Of course, you'd have to let them know that you're gonna put the names and stuff on here later, right?
Yeah.
But then say, okay, does this depend upon that? You have to be you'd have to follow the methodology very, very carefully, or you'll get them mixed up. Say, okay, does that depend upon this? Sometimes. Okay, sometimes. Got it. Okay. And then that's conditional, right? And when and when, if what?
Yep.
Yeah.
If whatever, right?
Yep.
And then obviously you'll just like you normally we normally string string a necklace. You just kind of work your way through it. At some point you're going to have segments, right? Okay.
Well, and I would probably, that's what I was talking about. I would probably start with the big picture and work down. So I probably would have started on my part with, okay, here's, like you did, you got the end trigger of the whole process.
Yeah.
We started out with the big trigger of what starts it, and then we got what ends it.
Yeah.
And then I would probably go to what are those components?
Yeah, you actually follow the same. You follow the same pattern as facilitating.
Exactly. Yep.
You might say, okay, what are the big chunks, right? And grab your segment names.
And just kind of put them up on top there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think you could do it. Yeah, of course, you're going to have to be pretty fast with Visio. I mean, you don't want to be fighting it.
Yeah, you might want to make it extra long to start with and not have that back end piece in your way, you know.
Yeah. Um, the short answer is it's gonna go about twice as long as your morning session. You wouldn't want to have more than 3 or 4 triagers,
Yeah,
and the pre-work, I think you'd want to do some pre-work to speed things up. And that pre-work would be list the things your process creates or decisions it must make in no particular order. That makes sense?
yeah, I'm writing it down.
But you want to keep and in fact, it may be that you take this sheet, take this sheet and we add another worksheet to it, maybe a page 3,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just, list things that your process creates or decisions it makes. And they just kind of fill it out for their own notes. You probably need then you probably need an example sheet as page 4.
Yeah, it'd be almost kind of neat if they had a way of doing some pre-work, and then we could kind of like quickly type up 20 or so task bubbles, maybe not get them exactly right,
Yeah.
but and then it's just more about organizing them and putting them in.
Yep, I think that's exactly what he's
Yeah,
talking about.
but doing some pre-work on our side too as well. No, pre-work on our side.
Yeah,
Like what we do.
you'd want to have the process name. You'd want to have this all done ahead of time.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm talking about, well, never mind.
If we got, I think he's saying if you got the pre-work in advance, that he could go ahead and start putting some circles in.
Oh yeah.
Not putting some circles in, but maybe typing up some circles and kind of getting some stuff already pre-worked, and then it's just more editing the tasks, the circles and stuff, and then it's more organizing the stuff.
Yeah, anything, I agree. Anything you can do beforehand. What you wouldn't want to do though is,
Presume.
I'm not sure you'd want to string them together though.
No, I didn't want to string them together.
I think you could pre-populate the circle.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Oh, you mean to build a map with a bunch of circles on there and arrows already?
No, I'm saying not
Well, what are you pre-populating it
the
with?
circles. If they could list.
Oh yeah, if they gave us that list ahead of time. Yeah.
Right, I could fill out the circles, and they can help organize them and link them.
You could have them all nice and neat here, ready to grab.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Of course, that all be.
Yeah, they'd just be white and with names in them. And
you wouldn't have any. You'd only have your big milestones sitting out over here, perhaps.
Yeah, it might even be nice that what we do is have like 1 hour meeting before the actual mapping day, like the day before, and it just goes through, here's how this is going to work, here's the pre-work I need from you, and then I need you to send it to me before the meeting. And so maybe it's more than 1 day ahead of time, it's a couple days ahead, and then that would allow us to go ahead and build as much as we can ahead of time without presuming how it connects yet.
Okay, so that makes sense. However, normally, when you add your numbers, I mean, if you're going to do a full triage session, for example, right, you're going to have to, at some point, say, okay, what's the boundary for that one? And you would grab your,
Mm-hmm.
you'd have to grab this, right, and say, okay, that's that. You want folks, I found, Cindy and Mark, it's really hard to watch someone keyboard a lot. It gets really tiring,
Right.
right? So you want to say, hey, look, you guys take a break. I got to clean some stuff up here, right?
Yeah.
Right. And, let's suppose that you had this all in. You'd have to go in and just number things, right?
Yeah.
But don't do a complete label, but go ahead and number things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then pain points get interesting.
So that's, I'm thinking even it's like 2 separate sessions.
Yeah, I think that pain points are going to be their own meeting. Well, I mean, it essentially isn't a triage. It's an afternoon versus a morning.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, now we want to do the triage. Of course, you have to.
So you'd end the last day with somebody literally walking you through the map, so everybody understands it and you cleaned it up if there's something still a little off.
Yeah, you'd
And
want to
leave them with go through the pain point sheet.
Say again.
And then before you end that day, you go through the pain point sheet and you explain what are different kinds of pain points and maybe do a couple of examples. And then say, between now and tomorrow, you each need to look at this map and come up with 5 pain points or something, some number. And I've also thought, as just kind of an enhancement to get people to understand what a pain point is, what are the types of pain points that you're looking for here to trigger thoughts? Are you familiar with the downtime acronym for quality?
Tim Wood?
Tim Wood, yep, I always call it downtime. It's kind of either the Tim Wood camp or the downtime.
Yeah, I think the school book on that's Tim Wood. But
and so going through what each of those means and leaving them a little tool, so when they start doing their pain points, they're thinking about, do I have any of these going on in the area that I know?
I couldn't agree more. If you know you're going in for, if you're going after things that deal with waste.
Well, let me show you, and you can tell me whether it's. Let me pull up what I've got on that. You okay if I share?
Yeah.
Okay. So it says I can't share while you're sharing. Let's see.
I like the idea of having some samples of what good pain points are.
Yeah, but here's kind of just to get their juices flowing, and it applies in all areas. And I think that it covers almost all of the pain points we get when I went back and was starting to look at them. So defects, generally speaking, you get something and you have to redo it, or you have to reject it. Overproduction. Have you got places where things are piling up that aren't used for a while? Waiting. Where are you waiting for things?
Where would you put, for example, I attempt to pick an item from a warehouse bin and it's not there?
That's waiting. And it could also have something to do with.
Well, we know it causes a delay. I get that.
Yeah.
But the way the pain point will come at you is cotton picking bin's not, the right quantity's not in the bin. It's missing.
Right. So you'd be getting them to think about what are some things that you're waiting for, and it would come back to, I go to a bin and my material's not there. I have to wait, or I have to go get it.
Yeah.
And so it could fall into either waiting, or it could be transportation, because you have to go get it yourself. Or I guess in this case, it's more motion rather than transportation. Unnecessary movements by people. You shouldn't have to go and get that off the shelf. It should have been in the bin where you looked first.
I understand. I'm just kind of processing on it here.
Yeah.
Like the
I think
two-wood
almost
approach.
everything we do fits into one of these. And maybe we've missed some by not thinking about, this extra processing area is one that a lot of people don't think about when we're going through pain points.
Well, where would you put rework in extra processing? Do-overs.
Well, extra processing has to do with you're doing more than is required.
I understand. I've been schooled in Timwood. I'm not
Yeah,
arguing.
so it's not really rework. It's not rework.
My point is, as I think about the typical kinds of pain we hear about,
Yeah,
I hear about, like the inventory example, or this thing has got to be reworked. It has to be sent back.
okay. So give me an example and I'll bet you it fits in one of these.
Well, I don't dispute that it probably does, but.
And it triggers the thought that they may not have thought about before on this. That's
Yeah,
why
I think
it,
reworks in defects.
not always, but sometimes, yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah,
got to
if you
go
get a
rework it,
defect.
right? That's a defect. I can't send it. I can't pass it.
It could
Gotta
be
be
an
reworked.
inventory that you've got sitting around because when you go to use it, it had a life to it that now it has to be redone.
Well, it says efforts caused by rework, so there it is. It's right in
Yeah.
staring me in the face.
Yeah. So the idea of doing it this way is to just get people to have a sheet that they can reference that will trigger what are some of the things that are points of pain. And this is like, do I have any defects that are points of pain? Do I have any areas where this is happening? It's just one more way to spawn a thought. It would be saying,
Yeah,
it's not saying,
I think you're on pretty safe ground too, because Timwood's been around for 25 years.
yeah. Yeah. The only thing is it used to be the 7 areas of waste. Now it's 8 because it's got the people standing around doing nothing. How many times do they put that up as a pain point? It is a pain point, but how many times do they ever put it up there?
Now remember, we're talking about the ball, not the player.
Yep.
Right? So anytime we start talking about people.
Well, they do talk about where they're missing an expertise, or there's someone that is got an expertise that isn't being utilized. They do talk about that. That they're actually, spending time working on things that aren't as up to the level of what they're being paid for.
Yeah, okay.
So it's just a different way of looking at it. And then the other thing is this value added component.
Here's my problem though, if I want to be really careful about the people thing.
Okay.
Is because that's going to triage to what? It's going to have to be a train or enforce, right?
On what? On which one? On the non-utilized talent?
Yeah.
I think it could end up.
It could be any of them. All right.
Yeah, because you could end up with, there are people with certain expertise that are on other jobs. And so they're, the whole idea that they're working on something and can't be interrupted, but yet they're the only ones that have the expertise over here.
I'm thinking of my past triages. I can see that.
Yeah, and it's just, and here again, it's maybe just something to try because we're going to have to get them thinking about things with us out being there to prompt them before the meeting. And I was just trying to think of what might prompt people to come up with their own ideas. So, and then value added is also one that if they can identify this is not a value add activity, that would be great. And this is a really clean description of what is value add and what isn't.
Okay. I think you'd want to have an example page of this, of what pain points are. Like this is a great.
Yeah.
I think this would be page 1 of a 2-pager, with page 2 being, remember, we have to put in how much and how often something happens that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So you'd want maybe take each one of these 8 and say, what's an example? How would you how would you cap or express each of these as a triage pain point to make sure it's
Yep.
it's triage style correct?
Yeah. Okay. I'll take that on.
Here, I could do it.
Well, you want to take half and half?
I've got time. I can do it.
Okay.
So that's on me. So I'll make a note here.
Okay, and I'll send you this document.
Tim Wood sample.
Yep.
You know, thinking out loud, that might be a good handout for our sessions.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is.
I don't know. I just, I'm trying to keep the handouts to a minimum.
Yeah. I do think that though there's a whole subset of people that aren't getting that really deep pain points out there. We're missing some real categories here when they go through it. So there's more opportunities for them to get better results. Okay. All right. So I'll stop sharing.
Yeah. Okay. I think we
So
need a guinea pig.
I'm sorry, what?
You need to find us a guinea pig.
Well, I've got one, Arcus.
Okay.
You may have one with the city of Austin, but I have a feeling their situation's probably more dire.
Well, it looks like it. The sponsor, DeWitt Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
I just got another email from him. He said it's a business. It's a proposal he wants me to reply to. So we'll see I got to figure out how I can open it. But I'll deal with that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm dying to know what they want you to do. So when you do find out, send me a little email. Tell me what you're doing. Just curiosity, since I've got a son down there.
Sure.
So the other thing is, Alliance Safety Council might also want to do this because they want me to do 4 more.
Obviously those are on hold, right?
Yeah, because I can't travel down there. But they've got people that have time.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah, so it might be another good one. And it's simpler than the one that Argus is talking about is actually designing. So it's kind of taking an engineering process and mapping out how they do it. That could be complicated.
Yeah, if it's only 3 or 4 people,
Yep.
you could get them into the office and have them keep room spacing and do it like they do
These are
the.
people that aren't located, they're all over.
Oh, okay.
They're not co-located.
So it would have been
So you'd have to be,
online anyway.
Oh, they would have traveled in.
yeah, so that'd be a Zoom call, obviously.
Yeah, and I just, I'll just set it up with them. Hey, we're treading new ground here, but we put a lot of thought behind this, and so let's see what we can get out of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kent's just, he was so thrilled with how his last one went. He's just like, I want to do a bunch of these. And then eventually he does want me to teach somebody there how to do it. So we'll talk later, let's not jump in there now, but that's also another revenue opportunity for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that may be the, if we can do these online, that may be a real good potential revenue opportunity.
Sure makes it simple. I mean,
yeah, and you've got the map when you're done. You're done with the map almost when you're done.
Yeah, but what's your
to clean up?
Yeah, it's just not as fast and intense, and
interactive.
You're dealing with only 3 or 4 people. When you try to triage, what's the wonderful special sauce about the way the workshop works now, of course, is you get, you're really dealing with the whole.
It's adult learning that creates buy-in and understanding.
Yeah, and of course, you just have to the fewer number you triage with, Cindy and Mark,
Mm-hmm.
the greater the risk of subsequent buy-in if they're not the right people doing it.
And bias.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why that having at least, you know, a couple in each functional area, you know, and all the way lead to cash with 12. But hey, you know, we gotta figure out something to make it work. So I'm still all in.
Yeah. I think we can do it. And I think recording the first few sessions is the way to go too.
Do you have a pro subscription of?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I can record.
Because you'll
Yeah.
have to, that's what you take. Let me go ahead and reminds me, turn the recording off.